Welcome to the next episode of the EO Entrepreneurs Organization podcast, exploring countries in Africa. Today we are in Morocco, we are in Marrakesh, and we have Ayoub here. Ayoub is the CMO and co-founder of Wafer, and I've just learned a new Arabic word. Wafer means savings. Is that correct?
Yes.
Welcome.
Yes.
Welcome.
Exactly. Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here. And welcome
thank
in Morocco.
you. I'm excited. Unfortunately, I'm not here in person. Last minute cancellations. I'm in Cape Town. But I was in Marrakesh 10 years ago and I loved it. And I was very sad when I realized it's too crazy traveling now. Yeah. Anyways, let's get started.
I see.
Ayoub, tell me about your story. How did you become an entrepreneur? I see you started Wafer in 2022. So up to that point, what did you do? What took you through life?
Sure. So I'll start from the beginning. So I started my career in mobile payment and DCB, direct career billing. And I've worked as a business development manager at one of the biggest companies in that field, where I was managing for them the entire African region plus the GCC area. And so it's been a journey where I've been always, it was a great experience where I was always in the front lines, negotiating with mobile operators, talking with content providers, having to manage digital advertising teams, data science teams, having to always to follow up with our technical teams at the time to see where the integrations are going, etc., etc. So I've been very fortunate where I started my career at I'm going to say managerial level, where I had a lot of responsibility and was always responsible for managing and following up with the work of a very large team at the time. So I took that as a very big trust from the company and invested into myself. And basically what I was looking at was not to evolve within the company, but I was seeing this company as a school, and I had as many years as possible to learn as many things as possible. Since I was in direct contact with all of these types of teams, these types of profiles, I would always take my laptop and go to their offices and sit next to that specific person and say, look, today I'm going to spend the day with you, and I don't want to just follow up on our project, but I want to understand your job better. I want to learn what you do so that we would communicate better, and I would be able to think of solutions before coming up to you. And basically, I stayed there for 3 years or maybe 3.5 years. And during those 3.5 years, once coming out of there, once leaving that company, I became pretty much almost an expert in all of those specific fields that I was managing. So I became a digital advertising expert on Google Ads and Facebook Ads, which were the main focuses of the company. Then I was also very good at data analytics. I had a UI UX team that I was managing, so I became very good at looking at subscription flows and all of that, and analyzing them and saying, oh, this should be here and maybe this should be there, etc. Because I spent the time to learn, and also I became very good at discussing with technical guys, because I would be always there and understand their word, and I developed also the technical terms and became very good at understanding their struggles. And to me, I guess that was the foundation to me at some starting to think, okay, I believe I have enough to start thinking of building something out for myself. And basically, that's when I left, I joined the competitor in Amsterdam. And to me, it was mostly for the idea of, I want to try to live abroad, see what it feels like to be let's say, 100% detached from anything that I know. And I stayed there for 10 months. Well, tried, let's say, the experience of living abroad and all of that. But quickly, very, very quickly decided to leave because I felt like I wasn't learning anything. And coming from a background in the other company where I was every day learning new stuff, and coming to a new company where my being there was to just share what I learned in the first one. And I felt like there was nothing in it for me other than money, and money was not really what I was looking for, especially at this age. At that time, I was, 26, 27? So 26, yeah, 26. So it didn't make sense for me at the time to sacrifice personal growth for money. And so I decided to leave, and was talking about my decision with a friend who's the CEO and founder of a big multinational group called RG. And we were just talking about it. And then he came up and came to me with the proposition. At the time, I was thinking of building my own agency. And he came up with a very good proposition where he and his team developed a methodology that enables them to detect early signs of Alzheimer's up to 10 years in advance. And they put it into a mobile app that's called Brain Test. And the thing is, they had the product, but they didn't have anything else. And he offered me to venture on that startup with him. So to build the marketing team for that startup and to grow it. But then again, I would still be working for the company, so I didn't have any stock options or anything. However,
quick interjection here. So that company was Brain Test. Is that correct? Brain Test.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, Brain Test. So I joined as a marketing director in the company. Basically, I didn't have no stock options. And to be completely frank, at the time, I was very young. I didn't know much about stock options and all of that. So I didn't really think.
Just knew you wanted them.
Yeah, I just knew I wanted them. I just knew that, to me, my idea was I would take the company, do great with the numbers, and then I would negotiate being let's say, having a share within the company. And yeah, that's where I had the RG, which was the mother company of Brain Test, has offices all over the world. And I was offered to either join one of the offices and open the team there, so that I would benefit from the structure that is already there, or either create an office in Amsterdam or somewhere else. And since I had a lot of connections in Morocco, I already knew a lot of very good profiles and all of that. It made a lot of sense for me to go back to my country, open an office. Decided to do it in Marrakesh, and then headhunt the guys that I already worked with and that I felt like would be a very great addition to the team. And that's what I did. I came back to Marrakesh, opened the office, and started headhunting from the first company that I was in, and other companies where some of my old colleagues left to. And yeah, go 3 years forward. Unfortunately, I joined specifically at the beginning of COVID. So we opened the office at the end of 2019. So 2 months or 3 months later, perfect timing. And yeah, the thing is, we were targeting the US, and the US at some point was very heavily hit by COVID. And COVID was the main message, specifically during the first year, was COVID only kills older people. And we had a product that is targeting older generation, and we're saying, you might have Alzheimer's within a few years, so you should detect now so that you can start early treatment. But then there was the imminent threat of COVID, so it didn't make sense.
Nobody cared about Alzheimer anymore. Forget COVID. Think about Alzheimer.
Yes, that's the thing. So we've had a very rough start, and I think that in some regards, now that I look back into it, uh, I'm very grateful for it, because having that rough of a start
Tough.
made me, I think, very tough in my head. Yes, it's very hard for me
If you
to be
have to find
shaken
a
right now.
way,
Yes, yeah.
if you
Like,
have to fight and make a way, it steals you.
exactly. Specifically now with waffles, sometimes when I'm in a very tough situations, I it doesn't get into my head, because I've already seen worse. I've already seen worse. I've already seen campaigns that do not convert at all, and while I know that I've been doing like very that everything is done the way it should be done, and they're not converting it. Uh, just looking at that, it was very tough. Like the very first year was very, very
It
tough.
is.
That's when I got bold, by the way. Huh? I got bold because of
Blame
that
that
first
year.
year. I started losing hair. That's when I started losing hair, not the jeans.
Let's talk a little about now that you've made this transition to Waffer, or that you became part of the team. Talking about the stresses that you learned to endure. What was different going from? I mean, you sound like very much an entrepreneur, having come with this open mindset to learn everything and really understand every role in your team. I think that's sort of one typical hallmark of an entrepreneur. When you when you launched Waffer, I think the one thing that changed for you is to go from being an employee to now really being responsible for this company. Tell us about this change. How was that for you to now suddenly be a real entrepreneur, responsible for everything, and nobody that sort of like sits above you?
I see. Well, I think one of the very main focuses that many very big changes was, for the first time, I have to worry about money. I have to worry about cash flow. I have to worry about since we're operating in Morocco too, I have to worry about regulations. I have to worry about things that normally were the worry of someone that was above me. And now thinking about, oh my, I'm very sorry, I think the battery is low. Forgot to plug the charger. So having to worry about the money, having to worry about regulations, having to think of basically have a global picture, because now
Mm.
you're not just CMO, you're not just the marketing guy. This company, it's a part of you, right? It's not just
Mm.
I'm not seeing it as, oh, I have a share within the company. No, this company today is a part of me, so I need to look at always all the aspects. And I believe that's one of the main changes coming from, oh, I am an employee, to, oh, I own a part of this company. It's when you're an employee, you care about your job, you care about what's under your responsibility. Once you go to being an entrepreneur, you think of everything. You're the marketing guy, but then you're also thinking about finance, you're also thinking about regulation, you're thinking about everything, and you care about everything. Yes. And that's where it's also very important. And I believe also in terms of people's management, it's very different depending on the person. Once you start being, and once when you're an employee, the way you manage your team, I believe, is very different than when you're an owner of that company or co-founder of that company, because now it's your own money that you're paying them. And I believe, I say it to a lot of friends of mine, I believe that's where actually you show your real mettle, because it's very easy to be nice and genuine and all of that when you're not the one paying the teams. But when you feel like you're the one paying them, that's when your true colors will actually show. And trying to stay truthful to who you are is, to me, was very very big challenge. I believe.
Here's a question for you. You just mentioned friends and engaging with friends. Have you seen some sort of a change? Because what I often hear with people who become entrepreneurs, that suddenly there are things they can't talk about with their friends because they don't share the experience. Like, I don't know, hiring, firing people with this full responsibility. And whereas before it was, we are both employed, we share the same sort of mindset or experience. Suddenly there are things that you can't share. Is there something that you've experienced?
Actually, I believe it's really all about what type of friends you have. So for me, friends is not really a word that I use lightly. So my friends are basically family to me. So we kind of almost share everything, even go into to personal life struggles. And to me, that's very important because I find a lot of support into those friends of mine. However, obviously, there are things that I cannot share because those are not just mine to share. So obviously, there are some things that are related to the company. So not hiring or firing, but mostly, let's say, strategic things that me and the other two co-founders have this agreement not to share with anyone. So those things, if it was just up to me, I would gladly share them with my friends. But since it's not just it's not something that just involves me, obviously I do keep it to myself. However, I believe for me, sharing everything with my friends, especially because especially the firing part, I am someone who's very sensitive towards that. So I have my very first time firing someone, I didn't sleep for 2 days. I had, even though that was someone that needed to be fired, and I didn't sleep for 2 days. Not, and that wasn't even for Waffer. That was for something, for brain test, and I didn't sleep. I had my conscience that was playing in all sorts of ways on me, and I was thinking, oh, did I really do something good? Am I a bad person? Something like that. And to me, I still some sorts of ways have these problems up till today, where whenever I have to take a decision, like, yes, it's never easy on me. And finding that support from my family and friends is something that's been very helpful for me, honestly.
Tell me a little, sort of like changing tack slides here, the entrepreneurial ecosystem in Marrakesh and Morocco. Are you tied into communities like that? Do you speak with other co-founders? How do you gain best practices or experience shares with people like that?
So in Marrakesh, to be completely frank, there is almost no entrepreneurial ground here. So there is a small accelerator, but then it's mostly for very, very very young companies, so idea phase type of companies. However, in Casablanca, there is a sphere of entrepreneurs that is very close, and actually, my co-founder and CEO is someone who's very, very involved. So personally, especially since I have now a small family, so I try to do family, Waffer family, Waffer. And so even for my personal friends, I have so little time recently. So I'm not really engaging that much with the community. However, my co-founder is very, very engaged, and they've even recently founded an association that is called the Moroccan FinTech Federation. The goal of it, yes, I think, to which he's the president. Basically, it's a conglomerate of fintech startups, other startups, even if I'm not mistaken, that are not really in the fintech industry. And the goal is to associate everyone and have the capacity to talk with governmental agencies with more power. That's where, because to going back also to your question, the what's good and not good about the Moroccan startup environment is that it's very young. It's still it's still a baby, and we still have so much to learn. And regulation wise too, we have so many things to do and change, because the regulations today are still very far behind, and we're always discussing with the regulators to propose new stuff. Do this and do that. This will help us. This will do that and that. And that's where I believe the beauty of having also someone like my co-founder and CEO Ismail, who's very, very engaged with the community, because he knows the problems of everyone. He's discussing with everyone, so he's able to talk more effectively with the regulators and say, okay, this is really what we need. This is not just what Wafr needs to grow up, but this is what the fintech industry in Morocco would need as a baseline to grow up. Yeah, and from there, obviously, we have this. The great thing also here is that we don't see each other as startups as possible competitors or anything. So there is a huge help and that is coming up between the Moroccan startups. And what we're also trying to do is, whenever we can, if we have a Moroccan solution that we can use, we'll use the Moroccan solution, so that we can in some way also help this ecosystem develop.
Sounds good. That is very interesting to hear that the ecosystem is developing, is very young. Have there been some regulatory changes that there's now like a spurt of startups, or how does this? Why did that happen?
Well, not that much. We're at the phase where a lot of things have been talked about and a lot of promises were made. And to my knowledge, I do not think there was up till now much change. So we see that doesn't mean that there is no one who's willing to help. There are open channels of communication, and that's actually astonishing when you look at the fact that up to a few years back there was none. And today there are channels of communication that are open. We get regulators that are talking to us and are open to our suggestions. But obviously, we're still a country where regulations are a little bit slow. So it takes a little bit of time. And I believe me and my co-founders say, this is in some way, it's true that a lot of young startups do not see the light because they do not see the regulations that are there, and they're like, okay, we're not going to venture in something that's not very regulated, or where the regulation is going against us, and that slows down the progress of the startups. But then also it's a very good opportunity for creative minds like ours, where there are regulations, but that it's not black and white. You can find the gray area where you can grow and
find opportunities.
Yes, find it. It's for the ones that really find opportunities. It's a huge market. It's an untouched market that just needs creative people to grow it.
So you're saying that because of a lack of regulation on the one hand side, people are discouraged because there's no set of rules, and they afraid to do something because it's sort of like this. It's
of course
open space, and then there are others who see that as an opportunity, especially if it's sort of like slightly gray, because they see there is something that can be done.
Exactly, and that doesn't play just in the founder's mind. That's in my opinion, that's playing first on the founders and second also on the VCs, because when you want to raise money, you have VCs that would be looking at it as black and white. Either the regulation is there or not there. So it's either we want to venture into this, or it's too risky because we believe that the regulation is not set. Or you have other VCs that will look at it as in, oh, these guys are venturing into gray. These guys are finding the path within between these black and white regulations, and it's just a matter of time. The regulations are going to change, and once these regulations change, then we'll be able to see hyper growth from these guys, because they're also already delivering very good growth rates within a very tight frame. of regulations. So once they have the regulation on their side, then it's just a matter of when they're going to achieve those goals.
Sounds good. Thank you. Thank you for these insights, Ayoub. If listeners want to reach out to you, first of all, who do you want to speak to? Who should reach out to you? And then secondly, where do they best reach you?
Well, obviously, me and my co-founders are always available on LinkedIn or by email. They can reach out to me at ayoub@waffer.co. We're always open to discussing with anyone that feels like they can bring some added value to the Moroccan startup ecosystem. Obviously, also we're preparing our pre-Series A, so VCs are also more than welcome. Obviously, I'm not the best person to talk to VCs. My co-founder and CEO Ismail is. But if anyone reach out to me, obviously I'll do the introduction and always be there on the sideline.
Sounds good. Thank you, Ayoub. Thank you so much for your time and coming to our improvised studio in Marrakesh. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Simon. Have a great day.